Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya, my lord.
Six-time world champion New England Patriots.
Edelman's going to throw.
The quarterback's arm.
It's good. Intercepted. Somehow they blew the coverage. Oh, that's a catch. Hello, Super Bowl.
We are all Patriots. And tonight,
Patriots are Super Bowl champions. The Patriots are Super Bowl champions.
Hello and welcome into another episode of the Pass Pack Podcast. I am your host, as always, Josh Fenton, here with my good friend Josh Valero. Josh, how are we doing on this fine, whatever today is, Monday, afternoon, evening, however you would like to refer to it as?
Pretty good. How are you?
I've been better. I've been worse. But you know what? It's a great day to be great. In this episode, we are going to be recapping the unfortunate events from the Miami Dolphins game. Starting off here with the final score, the Fins take down the Pats 33-24. The Dolphins covered at +6. The over cashed, which was set at 40. Moving on to the team stacks here to start off this very intense, unfortunate episode of the podcast. We got the Dolphins had a greater, however you'd like to say it, time of possession than the Pats, 33-36 to 26-24. The Fins also outsnapped the Pats, 66-59 total yards. Dolphins, 298 total yards to the Pats, 379 total yards. Penalties, Dolphins had 5 for 33 yards. The Pats had 8 for 78 yards. Turnovers, Dolphins did not turn the ball over at all. Pats turned it over 3 times. Efficiency, Dolphins were 7-15 on third down. Pats were 5-10 on third down. So, starting off here, we got some interesting predicaments that we can go all over the place here. Let's start off with the penalties, because that's something that really grinds my gear. So you got the controversial Brandon Bolden penalty. Mm-hmm. You got the absolutely absurd Lawrence Guy penalty that should have never happened. Mm-hmm. You got the Mac Jones false start, which I'm still not sure how that's even mathematically possible. Like, I don't think in the history of the NFL there's ever been a false start on a quarterback. And then you got the stupid Matt Judon penalty. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, that one especially, like, okay, Brandon Bolden, that one's controversial. Lawrence Guy, all right, you're an idiot. Mac Jones, you're an idiot. Matt Judon, it's like, I lost 10 IQ points watching that play. I'm like, why? So did he throw him down, like, I guess, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, forcefully? Not really. But at the same time, why are you even putting yourself in that situation?
Exactly. And I think this it goes to show kind of like it seems like once December hit, we haven't really been seeing the Pro Bowl side of Judon, and he's just kind of been making bonehead plays, or he's not making plays in general. And it's just, for someone who's supposed to be the prize, of the free agency pickups, he really hasn't been playing that great of a ball. I
almost give him a little bit of a pass this week because he really didn't play last week and didn't practice at all. And he did say teams have been scheming a little bit differently against him, which is probably accurate, because if you're a big-time pass rusher, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was good the first half of the year, but he's not Aaron Donald, or anything like that. It's not even close. So when teams scheme against him differently, like, a lot of the times he's probably going to see some regression.
Yeah, common sense. No one's going to use the same play tactics or styles against someone and expect success.
What are you thinking about these penalties here? Because these were... The Brandon Bolden one gets a little bit of a pass because that was a very controversial one, which really, in my opinion, the flag shouldn't have been thrown. Those other 3 penalties I discussed, those should have not happened. And they were big penalties too. I mean, the Judon one, crazily enough, that was the least significant of the 3. Lawrence Guy, you gave the Dolphins a first down when they were punting the ball back to you. The Mac Jones one, you went from a 4th and 1 to a 4th and 6, so obviously you got to punt the ball back. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this here?
Wasn't the Mac Jones one delay a game, right? I want to say.
No, it was a false start.
It was a false start. Okay. Lawrence Guy, these are just bonehead plays from veterans. The Bolden one, he didn't even touch him, man. You go and look at the replay, it's just something ridiculous. He wasn't even headhunting per se. He was going down for the tackle. Something that you teach, you go low. He's a football player. That's ridiculous.
It seemed like it was basic he committed to it and he
Yeah.
couldn't get out of it. And that's what Gene Serrator said when they brought him in. He's like, this should not have been a flag.
And it was a late slide.
Yeah, exactly. Like Bolden was like full on committed to that, and he tried to pull up. It was too late. What else you taking away here? Why are these? How can this be fixed? Because we've seen this for a few weeks in a row now. These boneheaded plays, and it's getting to a point where I remember when we first started doing this, we were saying it's just like, a rough week. Like they'll get past it. It's just one of those weeks because, every team sees a dark cloud here and there. Now it's like we've seen, this is the play we've been seeing for the last month or so. We've just seen boneheaded football, which, we're not used to seeing in December from the Pats.
I would correlate it to, obviously, whether we like it or not, Isaiah Wynn, that's a loss. That sucks. So automatically you're going to have to shift that D-line. We had Onwenu playing left tackle at some point. Ted Karras was even at center. These are I guess not traditionally their starting positions. And I'm even going to go and throw it out there that I think this team generally misses Dante Scarnecchia.
Dude, that's
I feel
something.
that's a huge loss.
I've honestly never thought about that, but you're probably right. I remember they brought him out of retirement because he was just so big for that team. And that's just tough, man. That's a really good point. I honestly never thought about that. That's so sad. What do you think he could do with this O-line?
He could do it?
Yeah. What do you think he could do if he was still on the sideline?
Man, he's a legend, man.
Just like us.
Just be more fundamentally sound. It's just like you never see traditionally a Pats team with so many penalties, and a lot of these penalties are on the line. I would just say maybe a more disciplined approach. We've
also got issues revolving around the time of possession.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so basically 34-25, 34-26 was close to the final number here. But the issue I've got with that is I feel like those numbers are actually a little bit inflated because I feel like in that fourth quarter you had the ball a lot and you really almost swung the pendulum back a little bit because I felt like the Dolphins controlled the clock like the first three quarters handily, very, very handily. Like if it was like 30-15 after the third quarter, I would not be surprised. Like if it just felt that lopsided because it just felt like the Pats were really struggling to move the ball. And I mean, it showed that when they were down 17 on the fourth. And at the end of the day, it just felt like they couldn't hang on to it. They were just doing stupid things. You had the turnovers from Mac, the botched snap. You had the stupid pick six. Like all these things were going wrong. How is there any way they can get around this and move the ball here at all? Like going forward?
Number one, it's the penalties. You know what I mean? I think that's huge. That and the combination of these turnovers. And, we've talked about it before. Turnovers are huge, especially in these, these games that we predict to be close games. This is Miami's Super Bowl, and I don't think the Pats were really trying to necessarily... I mean, you want to win going into the playoffs. Who the hell wants to lose? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then at some point during the game, they're like, yeah, let's put on our foot on the gas. And I think what I'm trying to say, a lot of those penalties, were drive killers, the turnovers, and they played from behind. And we've seen it throughout the year. It doesn't really... Mac's a rookie, and it doesn't seem like he has that ability to bring a team from behind. You start out slow, where we were down 14-0.
Like almost instantly.
Yeah, you're digging yourself out of the whole game.
And there's the turnovers.
Yeah.
Which we kind of just mentioned. So I don't care who you're playing. You can't turn the ball over like you did. You especially can't turn it over on the road.
Yeah.
You especially can't turn over on the road where you got a really hard time playing. You know what I mean? So that first one, I don't know what Mac was looking at. Like he was just flat out fooled.
He saw what was it, like a 10-yard out, whatever. Howard just baited him hard.
Yeah, he baited him hard and he fooled him really, really good. It was crazy because I didn't think he was going to throw it there, and I was watching. I'm like, please don't throw that ball there. He threw the ball there. Look what happened. 7 points in the other direction. Then you got the botched snap, which is just, man.
I think that's when Ted Karras was playing center.
It was.
Okay.
That just can't happen. Like, that just can't happen. Like, you're down, what were they, down 10 at the time? You're driving, you're at, like, the Dolphins' 20-yard line, and then you go ahead and botch that snap and essentially kill the drive and all the momentum that you were building.
Yep.
And then you had the Jacoby Myers fumble. I mean, I guess those happen. It shouldn't happen, but it happens. Then you got like, all right, like some weird stuff, like that play where Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne like ran the same route and ran into each other. I'm like, okay, someone is responsible for that. I don't know who it is, but someone's supposed to run an out route there, and no one did. They just ran into each other.
Yeah, miscommunication on the play.
Moving on to the passing side of things here, we'll start off with the Mac Jones experience. We got 20 of 30, 261, and a touchdown. 66% of his passes completed, a pick and a fumble. I believe that was credited to him, even though that was Ted Karras's fault, with a QBR of a whopping 12.7.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
I didn't realize it was that bad either.
Sheesh.
Moving on to the Tua Tagovailoa side. 15 of 22, 109 yards. 109 yards, Josh. 109 yards. And a touchdown. 68% of his passes completed and a QBR of 68.5. So, we'll start off on the Mike Jones side. What's going on with Mac here? Because everyone's been talking about how fundamentally sound he is. Next year's his year. He's done all the right things. He's making all the right reads. And with the exception of really the Jags game, over the last month or so, we have not seen a very good Mac Jones. You got the first Buffalo game where, again, he gets a little bit of a pass, not a very good QBR, but at the same time, the crazy winds, crazy weather, a la whatever, throw that out the window. You got the game against the Colts. Not pretty. You got the second game against the Bills, really not pretty. And you got this game, also really not pretty. What's going on here, and how can we fix the problem?
I think it's just in those games, you're kind of playing from behind, and as a run-first team, and let's say as a defensive team as well. We're not going to talk about the run defense. That's atrocious. But passing defense is pretty good. As a run-first team, if you're playing from behind, naturally you have to abandon the run game, you know what I mean? And in these games, when you're playing from behind, it's presented, let's just say it's presented more opportunities for Mac to throw the ball and for more mistakes to happen. As someone who's, let's call it a spade, he's a check down quarterback.
Call a duck, you know what I'm saying? Does he bounce back next week at Buffalo?
I don't know, man.
I'm going to say no. I don't think he does.
I don't feel confident in it, to be honest.
I don't think we see a different Mac Jones. I think we're going to see the same exact Mac Jones we've been seeing for the last month or so, or the better part of the last month, which is, it's fine.
Yeah, you want to be confident.
He is a rookie. I think it's more important you get him some playoff experience as opposed to winning the game, because I think with him, you want to play the long game. I don't think you want to play the game of win now. And this team's not in win now mode anyway. But I think you just really want to get him some experience and just get him out there. I think that's the most important thing, just like getting him those touches in a postseason hostile environment and just see what he can do with it at this point.
Yeah, and you hope he proves us wrong. I mean,
I would love to be wrong, Josh. I love being wrong when I bet against my teams. Like, I'll be the first one to stand up and salute, wave the white flag. I love being wrong in these situations. Unfortunately, since we've started doing this, I haven't been wrong too much. All right. Looking at Tua a little bit here. If I told you Tua was going to throw for 109 passing yards, how would you feel about that going into Sunday?
One, you feel confident going in a game that you have a good chance of winning that game. And two, it just sounds like another Tua game.
Josh, Jamar Chase had more than double the amount of yards receiving last week than Tua had passing today.
That's kind of crazy, actually.
It's also very accurate. So, I don't really know what to make of Tua here, because like you said, this is a very Tua type game, a very game manager type game, which you don't really want to see from a top 5 overall pick. The more I watch him, the more I really feel like he has the accolades to be more of a journeyman in this league and not the perennial starter that he was coming out of Alabama. How do you feel about that?
I agree, and we talked about it before. He hasn't really shown the growth in expanding his game and becoming a better NFL quarterback. I don't want to put the blame or take away the blame from him. Obviously, that's partly the player's fault, but I think it doesn't help you just saw that they fired Brian Flores. It's just like there's never been some consistency, and even the coaching staff has just always changed. And someone who's a rookie, even a sophomore, just trying to grow in the NFL, that's tough to establish, yourself in there.
Yeah, I feel like one thing I've learned from following football for so long is that with rookie quarterbacks especially, a lot of times it's not so much the talent. A lot of times it's the situation. And a lot of times when they go to a bad situation, their development is ruined. Like, for example, Trevor Lawrence was one of the all-time great prospects. And his career obviously is not ruined yet because he is only in year one, or I guess he just finished year one. But at the same time, they didn't do a good job of developing him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. I think a very prime example here is, well, two prime examples is one, Giovanni Camaz, what's his name? The guy that went before Brady.
It's like Giovanni something.
Something like that.
Name.
His development was really ruined. I always forget his name. Another one that really sticks out is Andrew Luck.
Yep.
His development was completely ruined, and it led to him hating the game of football and retiring at a very young age. Now he's like, I don't know, like playing with crops or something. I have no idea what he's doing out in Idaho or wherever he's living. But the point is, like, the Colts' development was so bad with him that they chased him away.
Yeah, it's like having a bad boss at work. No one wants to really work for the boss that you can't relate to or someone that makes you enjoy your job.
Yeah. Ballers ball, and Tua is not balling right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him going forward. Moving on to the rushing side of things, starting off on the Pats side of things. Brandon Bolden, 7 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Damian Harris, 11 carries, 37 yards, and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson, 4 carries, 34 yards. Kendrick Bourne, 1 carry, 8 yards. Jonnu Smith, hashtag free Jonnu Smith, 1 carry for 5 yards. Mac Jones, 3 carries for 4 yards. Anything you want to take away from the rushing side of things here?
Not Damian Harris's best game. You can, I guess, accolade that to the struggles that the line has had. And besides a couple nice runs by Brandon Bolden, who's really, really been nice this season, nothing really stood out.
Yeah, I would say there's really not that much to take away here. But they were playing from behind, like literally from the jump. Like
Exactly.
the game started and you were down 14-0. And you didn't get, I don't think you really got to a true one-possession game until...
Was it the third quarter?
Well, they came out, kicked the field goal to start the half.
Yep.
So, yeah, the third quarter, and then you were down 17 in the fourth. So you didn't have a ton of time to, let's run the ball here.
Exactly,
no, that did not happen. So they really had to go away from that. Moving on to the Dolphins side of things. Duke Johnson, the main event. 25 carries, 17 yards, and a tutty. Phillip Lindsay, 11 carries, 40 yards. Tua, 5 carries, 38 yards. Mike Pallarati, I can't even say his name. Pallarati. We're going to go with that. 1 carry, 1 yard. Myles Gaskin, 1 carry, -1 yards. So Duke Johnson was a problem here. That's not good because I've got nothing against Duke Johnson, but he was on the practice squad for the majority of this year. And he's been balling since he came off the practice squad, like big time. But at the same time, if a guy like Duke Johnson's going to let you up like that, I feel like that's not a good recipe for success when you got Josh Allen, like arguably the best running quarterback in the league, playing at home next week.
No, absolutely. A guy that's a dual threat. Also got some great pieces at running back in the rotation. I don't want to say Duke Johnson's special. He's definitely changed his approach towards the run game and looks for contact now, as commentators have mentioned. I think it's more just the issue with our D-line and stopping the run in general.
Anything else you want to take away from the rushing game here on the Dolphins side of the ball?
No. Poor Myles Gaskin, though.
Moving on to the receiving side of the game. We'll start off with the Pats here. Hunter Henry, 6 targets, 5 catches, 86 yards. Jacoby Myers, 8 targets, 4 catches, 70 yards, and a fumble. Damian Harris, 4 targets, 4 catches, 36 yards. Kendrick Bourne, 4 targets, 3 catches for 24 yards. Did get that incentive, though. Nelson Aguilar, 3 targets, 1 catch, 23 yards. Brandon Bolden, 2 targets, 2 catches, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson, 2 targets, 1 catch for 2 yards. And N'Keal Harry had a target. So is the rating on the wall here for N'Keal Harry.
Absolutely.
Like, you're inactive last week. You're active this week, which a lot of people were a little bit surprised at. And you get one target. I don't even know how many snaps he played, but he had one target.
This has to absolutely be his last game in a Patriots uniform.
I would imagine. You're obviously probably not just going to cut him.
I feel like they are.
I don't think he's that bad on this team. He's so cheap on that rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing if you're picking up the option, but I can't imagine anyone else they would bring in that's better in that slot. That's the issue I'm having. Considering the past, I guess, of not bringing in a number one receiver or anyone really great, and they kind of just fill in these not no-name guys, but these lower-class guys to fill those roles. It's not like he's bringing in DeAndre Hopkins or, prime Marvin Harrison or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? Do you think he's done no matter what, or do you think...
I think he's done no matter what. If they can't trade him, they'll cut him. Who knows? Maybe we can get a 6th or 7th. I'm a firm believer that he's definitely more suited for a different team, but not this team and the playbook.
I think you're right. I was thinking that when they were trying to trade him, or when he wanted to trade at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. I really thought that he's just one of those guys that need a fresh start.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, this passing game, I feel like it looked a lot worse than the box score showed. Like, you're like, all right, Hunter Henry's up there, 86 yards, Jacobi Myers, 70 yards. But really, I feel like they just had a couple of chunk plays that made this total yardage a little more inflated than it actually was.
I agree.
Anything else to add to that?
Really, I love his max connection with Jacobi Myers. You see it on these big time over the shoulder grabs, and Hunter Henry. That was probably one of his best games. That is one of his best games as a Patriot. So you'd love to see that rookie quarterback tight end connection. Not else much to take from there, to be honest.
Rookies do love those tight ends. Moving on to the Dolphins side of things. Durham Smith, I hate the way he spells his name. 2 targets, 2 catches, 32 yards. Jalen Waddle, 7 targets, 5 catches, 27 yards, and a touchdown. Mike Gesicki, 3 targets, 2 catches, and 22 yards. Devontae Parker, 4 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards. Myles Gaskin, 3 targets, 2 catches, 11 yards. Duke Johnson, 1 target, 1 catch, 5 yards, and Mac Hollins, 1 target. So, obviously, when you've only got 100 total yards passing, there's only so much gravy that can go on the turkey here. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to take away from this at all?
That's all, man.
Moving on to the defensive side of things here. Juwan Bentley, 17 tackles.
Holy crap.
I know. I saw that in the box score. I was like, oh my God. Adrian Phillips, 11 tackles. Devon Godchuk, 7 tackles. Kai Van Noy and Jamie Collins both chipped in with 6 tackles. Kyle Van Noy also did have a sack. Christian Barmore and Lawrence Guy had 5 tackles. What happened to the defense here? Why is this happening to us, Josh?
I don't want to sit here and make excuses. One, it doesn't suck when you have pieces like Kyle Duggar and Hightower, missing from the game.
Big time.
It's just this run defense, man. I mean, you see it in the box score. Duke Johnson putting up a buck on us. That's pathetic. Obviously, the pass defense showed up, and playing from behind doesn't help. It's all related. It's really this run defense, man. It's horrible.
And it's been a problem all year. Like, you get, the example that we've talked about so much that I always go back to is when you played the Titans with no Derrick Henry and you had 2 essentially practice squad guys run all over you for 100 yards each. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. That needs to be fixed. It's not going to be this year, unfortunately. Like we talked about, it's going to be interesting to see what they do at linebacker next year with, there's a very good possibility that Dante Hightower's not there anymore. Jamie Collins obviously was just signed through the rest of the year. So I think that'll be interesting what they do on that end, but
I think they're going to have to do a personnel change, to be honest.
Probably.
They don't have bad pieces. Barmore is a stud.
Yeah, he is absolutely a stud.
They have the pieces, man.
Yeah. Moving on to the Dolphins side of things here. Byron Jones, 8 tackles. Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Ginkel both had 7 tackles. Jerome Baker had 6 tackles. And Elandon Roberts and Javon Howard both had 5 tackles. anything you want to take away on the Dolphins side of things here?
And really, they showed up to play. They did a great job of taking advantage of our O-line errors.
Great day
In their row.
to be great. So, a lot of injuries piled up in this one.
Yeah.
Isaiah Wynn obviously had that rolled up ankle, did not return. Ramondre Stevenson, he did have that head injury, but he did return. Sean Davis left with a shoulder injury. Kyle Duggar and Dante Hightower both did not play. Duggar with a hand injury, Hightower with a knee injury. Christian Barmore, he hurt his knee at the end of the game, I believe. Mike Reese, who was a beat writer for the Patriots, said he observed Barmore after the game, and he said, I wouldn't expect him in the playoffs. This is the type of thing that it'll affect his offseason. He was very emotional. So that's obviously, first of all and foremost, that's not good. That's a very, very big loss, probably the biggest one. How are these injuries going to affect the Pats in the playoffs?
Sean Davis, I don't think is a factor. No offense, I'm a practice squad player.
No, I agree.
I would imagine McCourty and Hightower would be fine. You know what I mean? They probably just rested out of good measure and precaution. Really, I think the Barrymore one is going to be the huge one, obviously, because you're already struggling at that position in general, just to stop the run, and then you get rid of the biggest guy on there.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be interesting to see what happens going into next week. So, final takeaways here. Once again, the worst starts are the slowest starts. And they started slow, and it was ugly. You can't turn the ball over. There's no way you can turn the ball over 3 times going into Buffalo next week. You have to win the turnover battle if you want any chance of winning at Buffalo, I feel like. Where this team is right now, as much as I hate to say it, they're a one-and-done team. Like, I genuinely don't expect them to win next week. It's very hard to wrap my head around that, especially because those Bills fans are going to be even more hyped because they came in there and won the first time.
Yeah, they won the first time. They are fresh off a win. They just won the division 2 years in a row. When's the last time that's happened? You know what I mean?
Never.
And we're coming off a loss. We got big injuries there, and I'm not feeling too confident about the game, to be honest.
Seems like the Bills are going one way, the Pats are going the other way. Last thing here, last question for you. Can they get it done next week at Buffalo, and what needs to happen for them to get it done if there's any shot?
Can they get it done? Yeah, we always have a fighting chance with the coaching staff, and we have some key pieces. What's going to have to happen is, we say win the turnover battle. They have to not turn the ball over at all. At all. Establish the run game, play some great-ass defense, and we have a chance. I don't think that's going to happen. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be one of those 21-14 Bills games.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think it's going to kind of be, and I'll look into this a little bit as the week goes on. It's going to kind of be one of those games, kind of like the last one, where the game's never out of reach, but they just can't get those 1 or 2 plays they need to get over the hump. But guys, we are done here. We will be back later on this week to preview that Buffalo matchup, the first wild card, first playoff game that we are going to be previewing. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe as always, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.